Hello there folks, welcome to my studio. Welcome for hanging around and waiting for this demo. Please let me know if the audio is okay. Hopefully I'm loud and clear, you can all hear me from wherever you are. If not, then turn your speakers up. How does that sound? Hopefully it sounds okay. So welcome. Sounding good. Thank you. That's what we like to hear. Sounding good. The sun's shining out there and you're stuck inside watching me paint. It's better than watching paint dry, I suppose. So welcome to this live watercolour demo. Seascapes is what we're kind of talking about today. So we'll look forward to having a little bash at this. Thanks for... I've been sat not listening but watching your chat and it's been good. It's been good. So Seascapes is what it's all about. Just want to mention a couple of things before we do get started. If anyone's interested in these virtual workshops, these are proving to be very popular, which is great. And we've been running them for the past sort of 6 or 7 weeks. In fact, here's a couple of examples of pictures that we've been doing on the virtual workshops. This is one of Paris that we did. It was a nice cottage, and then of course the wonderful moonlit night in Venice. And I'm sure that lots of you watching have actually done those workshops, yeah? Could be a little louder, could it? Well, okay, I'll give it a little bit of an audio boost, but we don't want to make it too loud because it'll make you can always turn your speakers up, folks, if you need to. So if anyone is interested in getting one of the last few spaces for this workshop here, the one this Sunday, which is a wildflower meadow with like a beautiful kind of windmill, a classic English windmill in the background. So that's the workshop that we're doing on Sunday. And the important thing to mention about the workshops is the fact that they are very different to what I'm doing here. This is me painting a demonstration with you. Step by step, I'll take you through. I'll talk about the colours, but I'll paint very quickly. Whereas the workshop's very much nice and steady, holding your hand, that kind of thing. So designed to make you produce a picture. And it's wonderful. If you head over to my Facebook page, Matthew Palmer Artist, make sure you hit like if you do that. You can see all the paintings that people have been doing. So wonderful. Thank you for everybody that's taken part in the workshop. Just to show you some of the paintings that we have done over the past few weeks, here they are. And of course what you've got there is you've got the first one was the kind of it was the sunset that we did. It seems such a long time ago. It was the sunset picture that we did, and then we did a bluebell wood, and then we did the cottage that I was just showing you, and then we did a scene of Venice, moonlight in Venice. Then we did Paris, and then we did the picture the waterfall was the one that we did on the Sunday just gone. So yeah, beautiful things. People's loving them. And what's really good about them is it only actually needs 3 colours for the workshops. And the colours that we're going to be using on the workshop on Sunday are basically primary colours. I mean, you've got nice kind of simple straightforward colours here. So you've got a nice bright yellow. It doesn't really matter what the yellow is, if I'm being honest. Just some kind of bright yellow. It could be cadmium yellow. This particular one is natural yellow light, but it could be cad yellow or something like that. You want some kind of a red. This particular one is natural red. It wouldn't matter if it's something different, but just some kind of a bright red basically. And then a blue. So this blue is natural blue, so it could be ultramarine blue. But all you need is 3 colours: red, yellow, blue. And as far as brushes are concerned, for the virtual workshops, you just want really 3 brushes you can manage with. Something quite large. This particular one's a 20, a 6 and a 10. So 3 brushes, 3 colours in a piece of watercolour paper. You've cracked it. You've got yourself painting. You've got yourself painting, which is what it's all about. So please do head over to Watercolour TV. The address is here. I'll pop a link in the chat actually if anyone is interested in booking a virtual painting workshop. We've literally got a handful of spaces left. So that's the link coming up in a second. Talk amongst yourselves. Anticipation is half the fun, is it not? There it is. So that's the details for this workshop, folks, coming up on Sunday, 17th. Enough about that. Let's get stuck into what we're doing today, folks. So just while we're looking here, in fact, I'm just going to actually get nice and close into the actual sketch here, actually, because I want to show you the sketch what I've actually done for this picture. Let's get nice and close into that. So that's the actual sketch what I've produced for this particular painting here, okay? It's actually going to be a scene of it's a famous English castle, very famous actually, called Bamburgh Castle, and it's a place I've painted a lot over the years. It's a place I take painting groups in the summer for the painting holidays. Of course, if the painting holidays do actually happen this year is another story. It all depends on, well, it depends on a lot, don't it, really? Of course. And the sketch itself is actually, it's landscape orientation. I've popped a pencil line about a third of the way up the paper. And the bottom third is going to be beach and rocks, okay, and the top 2/3 is going to be sky. I'm going to go for a bit of a nighttime sky on this, folks. I think that'd be lovely, actually. I've got the castle here, of course, which the headland for it comes past halfway, sat on that horizon line. So if you're watching this back at a later stage, you can kind of pause the video here and you can get that sketched in if you want to do that, okay? So that's a nice kind of way to do this. Nice kind of foreground rocks, that's ready to go. Again, if it was a workshop, the workshop on Sunday, zero sketching, no sketching at all. We don't do any sketching for those workshops, okay? So there you go. How are we doing, folks? Are we still nice and clear? We're all nice and clear, yeah? Let's take a look at some materials, okay? What we've got here, folks, if we decide to put the moon on, I'm going to get myself prepped, and I'm going to use a round coin here and wrap it in some tissue. That's ready for doing the moon. So that's a piece of kitchen paper, sort of wrapped in a piece of tissue, if you like. That's kind of ready to go. I'll pop that to one side. As far as colours are concerned, not going to be using all these colours, not at all, but I want to just mention the natural colours. These are the main 11 colours, okay, that we've got here. So we've got the primary colours, which is the yellow, the blue and the red. So these are all called natural, basically replicating nature. That's the idea. They're all sort of branded up Matthew Palmer. So natural yellow light, natural blue, natural red. So they're your primary colours, and they're the ones that you need for the workshop on Sunday, or any variation of those three. So we've got those. So I'll pop a healthy squirt of these in the palette then, so we can see what we're doing here. Pop those there. Beautiful. I've got some scrap paper here for testing colours on, which is always useful. So nice bright yellow. I'm not sure what colours I'll be using on this just yet until we paint it. That's all part of the fun, okay? So we've got the blue, the red, the yellow. Plenty of red in there because that's quite a strong colour anyway. So I'll pop those away. We're then going to talk about this colour, natural turquoise. Now, you can mix a turquoise from Viridian, Viridian, which is a green with a touch of blue. But natural turquoise is a colour that's ready made for doing seascapes, and we'll certainly bring some of that into play. That's a beautiful colour. Loving that. Natural turquoise, designed for the sea. These are all available online, folks, all the colours we're using. If you head over to just here, you can see Watercolour TV. That's the place to get that if you're interested. Natural violet. Natural violet is a lovely colour here. We are still shipping. Shipping is slower than normal, so if anybody's waiting for products, folks, don't pop it in the chat, please. Talk to me after. Everything is shipped first class. It leaves here first class within a day or so of ordering. But what happens after that is down to the postal service or the customs and excise if it's going abroad. Beautiful natural orange. That's going to be gorgeous in the sky. Lovely natural orange. You're going to pop some of that in there as well. Lovely for the autumnal colours. These are the essential colours, and these are available in a set of 11 on Watercolour TV. Okay. Pop that over there. Natural orange. We've got natural brown. Love this colour. Pop natural brown. Now, there's no guarantees I'm going to use all these colours. Natural brown is designed to replicate nature. If you mix it with blue or violet, you get a lovely grey as well. We can get that colour there. Then we've got this one, which is natural yellow. Now, we've already mentioned natural yellow a little bit earlier. We said we had natural yellow light, but you can see here there's two yellows. There's a light one, and this is the original one. This is a little bit darker, this one. So the difference here is this one is like a sandstone beach kind of colour. So if you look at it, you can see it's like a bit of a sort of sandy, sort of ochre. It's not a million miles off yellow ochre. It's not yellow ochre. It doesn't turn green, but it is a similar kind of colour. We've got some white. That's always going to be good for a seascape. We'll come to that later. We don't need that just yet. Natural white. Then I don't think we're going to use them, but I'll mention them anyway. We've got the greens, natural green light here and natural green. Okay, now these were kind of the catalyst for the natural collection, really, because I wanted colours to replicate foliage. I do a lot of outdoor teaching, and getting colours that were replicating nature was so important. And natural green is that colour. Okay, so that's natural green, and then here we've got green light. Don't think we're going to use them on this particular painting, but if we need to, we've got them all freshly squirted. Now, I'm a big fan of using tube colour. I've got them squirted in the palette. This is my own palette here. Again, available online. If you head over to Watercolour TV. Brushes for this picture. You're going to be using a few brushes. I mentioned the essential 3 here. You've got your sort of 20, your 10 and your 6. But a 16 or a 14 will be absolutely fine. A 10 or a 12, a 5 or a 6. Beautiful. Then we've got options here. We've got lift out brush for adding some highlights. We've got branching detail brushes or rigger brushes if you've not got these branching detail brushes, okay? Or you could use the lift out brush, which is a nice crisp square brush. So we've got those as well. Now, I'm popping them in the water just for the second. I wouldn't normally leave them in the water. That's a bad idea because it ruins your brushes, but I'm giving them a clean. So I'm just going to pop them in the water for a second. Pop that just here. Then let's get up to the actual painting now. What we're going to do here, folks, is we're going to have a look at putting a big sky on. Someone's just messaged me saying, can I leave that on for a second while I do a sketch? Yes, it's there. I'll leave that on for a couple of moments. Remember, you can always skip back on this and watch it from the beginning as well. What size lift out brush? Just gonna have a look at some questions. Pop any questions in the chat, folks. The lift out brush is the extra large lift out brush. Okay, that's the better one. It's this one here, extra large lift out brush. It's a beautiful tool for. Let's get close in, shall we? Look at that lift out brush. Again, available online, folks. Beautiful, beautiful tool for putting highlights in. Extra large one, perfect. What size is the paper? Good question. It's roughly quarter imperial. If you don't know what I mean by that, it's about 11, 12 inches here by about 15, 16 there. You could say it's not far off A3. Doesn't matter if it was big or small, really. We're not going to get into sizes, are we? Jack saying my palette's got more than yours. Yes, well, what happened, Jack? Let's say last autumn time, we actually brought out the new improved Matthew Palmer watercolour palette with extra mixing wells. There it is. It's basically the same palette, just with a few extra mixing wells. That's all. That's all it is. Nothing too Nothing too different. It's just got more mixing wells for more colours, okay? That's all it is, basically. That's all it is. Can't go wrong, really. Can you? Wonderful. Okay, we are all ready to get started, folks. We do have stock. We do have stock. Someone's just mentioned that the paint is out of stock. We are getting down on stock. I'll say that to you now, okay? We do have stock of the sets of 11. No problem. So if anyone wants to order some of the paints that we're using today, we do have stock of the sets of 11. Absolutely fine, okay? You can get them online. Have a look under watercolour paint and you'll see. Some are in stock, some are out of stock. Obviously, we're relying on manufacturing happening, and there's lots of things that aren't happening at the minute. But what is in stock, folks, is this virtual workshop here. Get yourself onto this. We have literally about 5 or 6 spots available for this. 8 spots. I've got 8 spots on this. So if you're interested, great time to book in. It's only a tenner. Check out the link in the description. If you're watching this on YouTube, watching me for the first time, please hit subscribe as well, and the notifications and all that business. Let's take a look at this then, folks. What I've got here is the big brush. Yes, I can do that for you. Just got a text message, actually. That's good. Text message come through. Can I pop the link again in the description? Yes, I can do that for you. That's the link for booking the workshop. What paints would you use for starting out? Okay, let me show you just briefly before we start painting, folks, the watercolour paint sets that we have in. There's a couple of kits that we do have in the art shop. One of them, like I say here, is this one going in the chat now. This one is the set of 11 colours. We've got stock of those. Here, this is the complete watercolour kit, which comes with 5 sheets of paper, 3 brushes, 3 colours. Perfect for doing the virtual workshops. What more could you possibly want? Okay, let's chuck some paint on this thing then, folks. We've got the big brush, the 20. We're going to go for a sky. Don't know exactly how the sky is going to go until we do it. That's part of the fun of watching these things live for me as well as you, hopefully. So I've got my big brush here. It's always important to clean the brush really well, and I get into the habit of sort of wiping off the excess. Let me just, so you can see a little bit of the water pot there as well. Let's come back a touch with the camera there. There you go, you can see a little bit more of that now. So basically a nice clean brush. Just a slight wipe on the side is fine, okay? And then we're going to put the water on. So basically wetting the paper all the way down. It's pretty warm today. It's a nice warm day here in beautiful Derbyshire. So I'm wetting the entire paper. No masking off involved, just literally straight through. Nice big block of water, top to bottom. Cotton paper, folks. But if I'm honest, it doesn't really matter what paper you're using, but this particular one's cotton. It's just a slightly more absorbent paper. Watercolour paper tends to go like that. That's normal. It will settle down when it dries. Trust me, I'm an artist. It's basically cotton paper. You can stretch it if you want to, but life's too short for that. Life's too short for doing the ironing, stretching watercolour paper and cutting the grass, I would say. Oh, and cleaning the car maybe as well. Let's bring that down. So that's got a nice coverage. Now that's had 2 coats of water. I've got 4 spotlights beaming down. This thing's going to dry quickly in the studio today. So what that means is I'm going to wet it a 3rd time. Okay, I wouldn't normally do this, but this is just for the benefit of working in a warm studio today. Okay, nice coverage all the way through. Let's get the lighter colours on first. Let me take the palette up here so we can sort of paint on the fly, as it were. We're going to take orange, natural orange. I love that colour, that nice warm, beautiful orange. Across the horizon here. That's going to go in. Straight into the sea. Not being afraid to use that colour. Bring it up a little bit. So it's basically, it's working across the horizon, but also into the sea as well. We can bring that from the back of the castle as well. Sort of diagonal brush strokes at this stage. Lovely colour. Touch more. Again, if this was a virtual workshop, I'd be taking much more time with you, giving you time to work. Now, I'm going to lay the brush flat and I want to twist. So basically the brush is flat to the paper and I'm twisting this thing now. And it makes it look more cloudy. Now, I've not filled it in, I've just kind of done it patchy. A few bits down at the bottom would be quite nice, especially if we go a little bit thicker with the colour, we can drop some down over the beach area as well. So that's a fairly pale natural orange, okay? Clean brush. Now what I want to do here is I want to take some of the natural yellow, the darker yellow, quite thick. You can kind of see how strong that paint is there, can't you? A little bit of a dab on tissue. So that's strong colour. I'm going to pop that in the foreground here. And I'm also going to bring it a little bit at the base of the castle as well. If anyone's been to Bamburgh and Northumberland in the UK, you'll know the beaches are stunning. Very peaceful as well. Don't get a huge amount of people around. Natural brown goes in to that colour, so it makes it a little bit darker. Just want to pop some shadows and some darkness into this. We're talking rich, vibrant colours here. A little bit here as well. Let me know in the chat if you've been to this part of the world. Lovely, clean brush. So those colours kind of mix together really well. Clean brush. Let's come back to the sky, shall we? Now, as far as grey is concerned, if anyone's got natural grey, you can use natural grey. If not, brown and blue will make a grey. So we can use natural brown and natural blue. And you can see it's starting to turn into a bit of a grey colour. You can see that, can't we? Back to the paper. We're going to go a bit dramatic now, folks. Brace yourselves. You can smell the excitement, can't you? Twist it in. You want to go for some drama here. It's all about the drama. I'm going to twist it down. I love painting skies. Huge fan of painting skies. Which I'm sure if you've seen any of my other videos, you probably know what I'm talking about, yeah? Nice twist. We can make these twists go smaller as we work around the castle. Beautiful. Love that darkness there. Beautiful. Getting goosebumps, look. Twist it in. Sort of tickle and move across the paper. Like a bit of a wiggle. Get the wiggle on. Down here as well. And then in the water as well. Now if this was a workshop, I'd be doing this nice and steady, but because it's a demo, just sit back, grab a coffee and enjoy it. Let's put the moon on, shall we? Let's put the moon probably, I reckon, about here. That's the coin wrapped in the tissue. Yes, we do sell these. $17.99. Comes with a coin and 2 pieces of kitchen roll. Only joking. Don't order them, will you? Let's get the colour stronger now. Again, I could use natural grey, or in this particular case, I'm going to use the brown to get that bit of warmth. So I want to mix the blue and the brown together, but more towards the blue, because you want it to be dark. Let's put some richness in this thing now. Come on, we can do this. Let's get a bit closer in to the top part of this beautiful sky. I can smell the excitement in the room. Let's bring this down here. And we're going to weave this thing down. We're going to twist actually over the top of the moon a little bit. So you get that kind of overhanging effect of the rich cloud. And we'll put some highlights in that a bit later as well, I think. We'll see how we go, yeah? Let's bring some down here as well. So a little bit of darkness weaving in. Same brush, it's the large brush, the 20. If you're asking me any questions, folks, I will be answering them after this has gone in, because obviously I'm sure you realise this needs to be done while it's all a bit on the wet side. A little bit over here as well. But that's pretty much enough colour, I think, for the sky, if I'm honest. There you go. Now I'll clean the brush really well. I'm going to dry it off for a minute, because what I want to do here is use this brush kind of flat. Can you see the kind of flat brush we've got here? We're going to use this and I'm going to soften some of these edges, sort of tickling away the grey so it kind of disappears into the into the cloud. So I'm sort of smoothing it out. You can put little streaks on, which is nice. Where it overlaps the moon, I'm just going to lightly tickle the edge just so it softens that colour. So it's as though it's hiding at the back of the cloud. Then I'm going to use some kitchen paper. The same piece what I put the coin on with. Let's get close in because of course we can do that, can't we? Let's have a look around here, folks. I'm going to use this coin tissue, very tiny, just to pop some little highlights in here. Depends how dry the paper is, of course it does. But can you see I'm putting little highlights in? Little sort of taps, almost as though that cloud that's overlapping the moon there is catching a bit of light. Now I can use that same piece of tissue to lightly flick it back, sort of blends in. Feathers, blends, becomes part of the background there. So a nice little sort of tickle back, and it just sort of softens it in. Now that all depends how wet or dry the paper actually is. You can always sort of do this later if you wanted to. It's not an essential thing. You can always wash the paint off, and I think the picture works without it, if I'm being honest. So I wouldn't worry too much if you don't get that, is what I'm saying. Okay, I wouldn't lose sleep about it. Look at that little piece of tissue there. There's a giveaway there. Special prize. Let's get the focus back. Look at that, beautiful. That's a piece of art in its own right, isn't it? Don't forget you can buy them tools, them moon tools, $17.99 plus tax and freight. Only joking. Super, happy with that. I'm just going to use the smaller brush, the 6 brush here. Bit of water. I just want to lightly soften the edge. I love the warmth that the brown brings into the sky. So I'm basically softening the edge of the moon just a touch. So it's a little bit more of a glow, a feather, a softness. Let's come back on that, folks. Let's take a look at it from a bit of a distance here. So that's taking a little bit of shape there. There we go. We've got that rich, strong, vibrant sky. This needs time to dry, so I'm going to give it a blast with a dryer. I've got a hair dryer. While that's drying off, you can be entertained by looking at a picture of what should we take a look at today? Let's take a look here. There's a couple of pictures there. You've got the Golden Gate Bridge at the bottom, and then just above. Oh, actually, that's a local scene to where I'm painting. This is a place called Beadnell, if anyone knows Beadnell, Northumberland. There you go. Beautiful picture. I'm just going to use a hairdryer. Talk amongst yourselves. Great time to book in for that virtual workshop. If you know what I'm saying. If you're bored of that, folks, you can take a look at here. This is a Welsh scene. That's actually Moonlit Castle in the background, and right on the far left you can just see the tip of Snowdonia. Magic. We're all nice and dry now, folks. Pop that picture back. Let's take a look at the scene. There we go. So it always dries that little tiny bit, little bit lighter, which is always a good thing really when it comes to watercolour. I reckon about 30% lighter is what I would say to you on average. Okay, roughly 30% lighter. Okay, beautiful. So that's all nice and dry. Let's start to work on the water now. I'm just going to pop some work in the sea. Let's take a little look at the palette here. Let's get nice and close into the colours here then. So we've just been using this kind of grey mix, this warm grey, by using the brown, it was nice to use that actually, something a bit different. What I want to do here is I want to mix up some natural turquoise now. It's a ready-made kind of seascape colour. If you're not using my colours, you can get a similar colour from Viridian hue with a little bit of blue, so any blue really. But if I'd show you that, can you see it's quite a nice kind of seascape colour. I've also got the grey I've just been using, which I want to dilute down a touch. There it is. So I've got pale grey. You can use natural grey if you want, and then you've got this turquoise here. Okie dokie. And then that's going to give us the chance to sort of work on this area, this kind of water space. Let's get a bit closer into this so we can see what we're doing here. Okay, I just want to focus on this bottom section. We've got the horizon, the paper's dry, it's gone flat, it's all working well. It's all working well, can't go wrong. So I want to use this colour, big brush again. This is the grey first of all. It's going to go across. It's got a lovely kind of warmth about this picture already. I can feel it, feel the heat. That's the grey. Then we're going to move into the turquoise. You do get a bit of turquoise tinge up there. It's all to do with the sand colour, apparently. The salt and the minerals that's in the sea that makes the water look turquoise. So the beautiful turquoise in the foreground, followed by the grey. Because the grey will go back, it will cause depth. Clean brush, bit of what was it? We were saying I called it kitchen roll. Someone called it paper towel. Yeah. Is it like different parts of the world? I guess. I call it kitchen paper. There you go. So that all blends in. Now that will need a bit of time to dry, but while it's drying off, I'm gonna come back to the clouds actually and pop some more work in those clouds. Let's come back up here. Let's take a look around the moon, because I just want to work in some extra little bits of light and shade. And I want to show you how I can do this, okay? So I'm going to use the grey again. So I could either use natural grey or I could mix brown and blue together. For the grey wouldn't really matter, to be honest. And I want to work next door with a 6 brush, next door to those light bits, because I want to really emphasise them. Now I know because I'm using cotton paper, I'm quite happy that I can work back into this, no problem whatsoever, with the grey. Clean brush, couple of taps, just using water. I want to spread this out so it disappears, and it's going to create texture in the clouds, and it's going to make those bits look lighter. Can you see that's really popping now? Because that's going to be my focal point up there, folks. Okay, so now this paper's dry, and because it's a cotton based paper, I'm fairly confident in the fact that I can work into this. And I know it's not really going to wash off what's behind, simply because it's a cotton based surface. Okay, so something that a lot of artists will tell you not to do, do as I say, don't do as I do kind of thing. Don't go back to your sky, but here we go, we're doing it. And I'm sort of wiggling the brush with water on now to fade it again. Again, folks, join the virtual workshop on Sunday. It's giving you time to work, you time to catch up. That's exactly what this thing is all about here. Now this is quite addictive doing this, which is a problem because we're not knowing when to stop and all that kind of stuff. So I'm just going to work this thing along here, pop in a few more. It just gives texture, it gives layers. And if we need to put any white in, I've got no issue with putting white in as well. Wiggling away, softening with a size 5 or 6 brush. So it's giving a layer upon a layer, and it's giving depth to that sky, which is exactly what I'm interested in achieving. Can't go wrong, can you? What could possibly go wrong? Nice, okay. So that's something we can always fiddle around with later, and we can always add more layers to the clouds if we need to do that. Lovely, super. Okay, I'll stop there, folks, and I'm just going to come back and have a little look. That's given me some interest in the sky. The water's almost dry. Just going to give it a very quick blast with the dryer. You can look at Mr. Palmer's ugly mug while I do that. That's nice and dry, and actually while it is dry, it's got potential for popping in a couple of extra highlights in there. If we just have a little sort of close-up look at that here. I'm just going to use that lift out brush in some tissue here, and I'm just going to go in. I'm just going to ever so lightly lighten the edge next to where I've just put that dark. So I'm using a lift out brush here. It's just got water on it. So I'm kind of washing it out. And I can fade it back and then use a bit of tissue just to sort of take it off. And I could also support, you can blend it in quite nice as well actually. Do that. So it allows you to put those little bits of extra highlights in wherever you need to. And when that dries, that'll really settle itself in to the paper. So we'll look at that again once it's had a bit of time to dry, just here as well, just on this edge. Give it interest. Take it out with a tissue, leave it to dry and come back to it. It all depends how dry it is, how wet it is, what colour you've used, because some colours will stain more than others, and various things. That's fine, that works. Smooth this back here as well. Lovely. Okay, that's great. I'm liking now we've got a bit of rain over here sort of coming down from this corner. That works. Okay, let's take a look at the castle now then. Let's come down to the bottom section here. Nice kind of rich colours going off there. It's quite vibrant, quite atmospheric, quite stormy. Which is what we want. And it's giving that little bit of extra oomph to it all. Beautiful. Okay, now as far as this bit's concerned here, we'll kind of come back to this. I want to start to do the castle very soon. I want to pop in a straight edge for the castle because I want to keep a nice rich line. So I'm actually going to use some masking tape here, and I'm going to pop a line straight across, but I want to remove stickiness. So I'm wiping some of the moisture from the brow. Nice sound. And I'll pop that on here. Clean edge, straight line, but only as far as this. Then we'll take that tape off and step it down a little bit. Take the tape off again, step it down a little bit more. So we've got these little sort of steps, these little horizontal steps going through. The paper's still a little bit damp if I'm honest, but that's fine. It's all part of what we're interested in here today. What could possibly go wrong? Nice. Okay, so that's going to let me now work on the castle area and also let me start to put some depth in, some distance, that kind of thing. Okay, brilliant. Sorry, I'm just checking some of the questions there. And having a crafty drink at the same time. Today's watercolour workshop is sponsored by this famous water from Derbyshire that you can't quite see the name of. You know what it's called though, don't you? How many natural colours are there? Here's a question here from Charles. How many natural colours are there, and do they come in boxes or a case? So yes, well there's actually 12 natural colours and 2 skin tones. Some of the colours are out of stock because of the world events. The essential 11 are available for limited time in a set until we run out of stock of those. But as long as you've got 3 colours, red, yellow, blue, you really can't go wrong with this painting business, folks, honestly. That's all you need. That's all you need. We do sell them in a wooden box, and we've sold hundreds of them over the past few weeks, but we've sold out of those sets, okay, at the minute, because everybody wants to start painting, which is wonderful. And I was probably the first person to do these virtual workshops, and they're going so well. So again, while I've been chatting to you, we've probably had about 6 or 7 people book for that. There's a handful of spaces left for this, folks, here. In the description you can see where to click to get that information if anyone would like to take part of it. You'll not regret it. The great thing about them is, I'll say this to you now, is you can watch them back at any time. So it doesn't matter what time in the morning it starts in your part of the world, you can watch them back, okay? The link that you get sent before the workshop, the private link, is yours to keep and enjoy, so you can just basically just check it out as much as you like. Let's use that grey we've just been using here, which is nice and pale. So I could be using natural grey here, or I could be using brown and blue, or I could use all 3 primary colours mixed together. I want to paint in this distance here. Now over here you've got the Farne Islands, for those who know what the Farne Islands are. There's a bit of a lighthouse and a few little bits of interest there. So a little bit of distance coming through here, and a few little buildings. This comes right over. I want to make the colour stronger, so I'm just using natural grey or a mix of brown and blue. So a thicker colour to go along the base of this, okay? I'll bring that down, and I'm expecting a bit of seepage. So a little bit of a lighthouse or something there, and a little bit of shadow going in. So that's giving me that kind of distant effect, the sort of distant, you know, whatever's in the background kind of thing there. Lovely. Pop some little spots for trees and things. It doesn't really matter what you do, but as long as you've got that darker base, that'll work quite well. I expect it to creep down back a little bit. It does happen, so it's fine. You can't go wrong though, it doesn't matter really. Over this side, of course, we've got the castle. Now, the castle is straight. It looks like it's leaning because the board is leaning. Just before anybody tells me that, because I normally get a few people saying, why is your castle looks like it's falling over? It's because the board in the camera are at different angles, basically. That's all it is. Can't go wrong. Can't fail. Okay, wonderful. Let's take a look at the colours then. I'll mix a few colours for doing the castle area. I've got the size 10 brush, will do the job. I've got the 6 if I need it as well. So a couple of brushes on the job. I want some more grey, so I could use brown and blue. It's not a bad idea to use the brown and blue sometimes because it gives you a slightly warmer grey, natural brown with natural blue, or you could use any brown and blue. All right, so a nice kind of strong, rich, sort of warm colour. You can see how sort of rich that colour actually is. That it's got a bit of warmth in it. It has. Marvellous. Yes, the workshops are for beginners. Oh, you will produce, if you paint along either before or after, you will produce a picture, guaranteed. Now over here we're going to put some of the orange in. Quite strong for these colours. So I'm going for rich, heavy colours. I've got the natural greens here. This one is the darker one. I want to use some of that as well. Get some green in there. Quite rich on the grey there as well. And a little bit of the sandy colour, natural yellow. We've already used that in the beach, so we've got natural yellow here as well. So basically, this is a warm grey from brown and blue. All right. This is natural orange. This is natural green, the darker one of the two. This one is a sandy colour. Okay. These colours are designed for rich, heavy painting, and you'll see my reasons for that as we progress. And let's now take a look at the picture. We're going to do the castle area. We'll start with the dark browny grey colour. Make sure the tape is stuck at this point because there's a good chance of seepage here. Bring this through. No one wants seepage, do they? Bring it across here. Across the tape basically. Bring it up towards there. Now you start to get sand dunes coming in here at Bamburgh. So I'll bring some yellow in, some of the natural yellow. We're going to make a mess on the paper here, folks. Stick with us. There's the yellowish sandy colour going in. Then we're going to go in and we're going to start to bring in some of the browns. Bring this through here. It's all mixing together. We've got the green. We've got the green here. There's the green that's going to go in. Quite rich with the colours. We can start to twist the green in. There's a few little bushes and sort of shrubs hanging around. Not quite got to the castle yet. It'll all mix on the page. It'll all mix. And then we'll work towards the castle here. Now I'm going to change brushes in a sec. We're going to go for the 6 brush if I feel the need to. There's natural yellow. That's the sandy colour that we mentioned, the sandy yellow. Again, it all works together. Keep alternating, sort of pick and mix as you do the colours. So I can work across fairly dark here. So this is the browny grey that I'm using. Get it all working together. It'll all come out in the wash. Now I'm just going to sort of wiggle the brush around here. Give it a bit of a scribble around with this colour. Pop little bits of interest on. So I've actually managed with the size 10 brush. It's fine, doesn't really matter to be honest. Just going to bring a bit of the green in there as well actually. Little bits of spots of green. And then I'm actually going to take a plastic card and we're going to scrape off a few bits of rocks and a few bits of direction where the castle is. You could use a palette knife for this, but a plastic card works. There you go. So you can see I'm scraping it off there. The ups and the downs and all that business, and giving it some texture. You must have seen me do this before if you've watched me paint before. I use this technique quite a lot. It's really effective actually. It just gives it like a nice kind of edge, and you can work back into that edge. In fact, I'm going to work back into that edge now. I'm actually going to take a nice rich heavy grey. So I'm using brown and blue for this of course, or I could use natural grey, nice and thick. Nice and strong with the paint. And then just a little bit closer in there. Just going to work in a bit of darkness at the bottom. Now, like I say folks, I'm expecting a little bit of paint seeping down the back. It happens. We'll see that when we get the tape off. But we have a way to fix that. It does happen. It happens to the best of us. With the natural grey. Let's also pop some shadows in the castle while we're close in. So I'm basically working in some darkness. Which I'll blend in a second or two, alright? So I'm using more towards a grey, so this particular colour, if you was mixing it from brown and blue, more blue, okay? Basically. So adding little bits of shadows. Nice clean brush. A couple of taps on tissue there. And then we can use a bit of water to soften that into the actual castle, because that's going to be his main focal point. You can see I'm blending it over there, so you get that nice kind of main keep coming through. And it's always adding the shadows that makes the biggest difference to any painting, really. But you get shadows and you get kind of separation lines, which is kind of what that little bit there is down here as well. Little bits of interest, little bits of shadow, little bits of dark at the bottom where it sits on the rocky area. Damp brush, which I've just wiped over tissue. I'm just going to soften it in. There you go. So you can see you've got a bit more interest coming through to that castle now, yeah? It does make quite a difference. And I want to use that same colour to work back up. Here, so I'm basically adding some darkness. With it being a night time scene, I can get away with this quite easily. Nice and dark down here. So I'm kind of supporting what I've already done, which was putting in those card scrapes with adding grey next to it. And it makes quite a difference. Bit of water, bit of tissue. Can't go wrong. How's that looking, folks? Is it looking like a castle? A nice English castle. What could possibly go wrong? I'm just actually going to pop over to this side here actually and just pop in a little bit of extra dark over there now. Now that's dry, I just want to make sure that the bottom edge is nice and dark. Down that little sort of lighthouse object. Just putting random little bits of shadow in here and there. Little bits of softness and blending. Excellent. Now over the top of the castle, of course, we would expect to see a few little bits of detail. And if you look at a brush like this one, this size 6 brush, you can see it's actually quite a pointy brush, which means I can get away with using it for detail. So like little bits of windows. And Bamburgh Castle is not a ruin, it's actually it's more like a stately home. I want to say it's the Armstrong family, but I might be wrong in that. Maybe someone could correct me in the comments. Don't forget to hit subscribe, folks, while you're watching paint dry today, because I'm doing lots and lots of stuff here on YouTube, and I'd love you to stick with me on there. So another famous castle that's very close to Bamburgh Castle is Alnwick Castle. Alnwick Castle. Now, I believe Alnwick Castle was actually used in some of the Harry Potter films. This particular castle recently was in a Transformers movie. It was. Which was very nice to see. Transformers running down Bamburgh Beach. So just little bits of detail, little bits of lines, and just sort of random stuff, you know. Adds a bit of life to it. Always will do. There we go. Can't go wrong, can you, eh? Lovely. Makes a big difference, that. It's always the dark, always going to be the dark that makes the biggest impact on any picture. Smashing. Okay, let's think about taking the masking tape off then at the bottom. Let's just come back a little, click on the camera so we can see what we've actually got now. Take a look at the scene. It's got that nice kind of base to it. Very carefully, of course, because it can rip, so we do it steady. So there's a little bit of seepage here, not much. Touch there. Yeah, that's not bad actually. There's a little bit, but nothing what I'd say is bad. It depends how dry this is, really. But that's giving me that nice kind of rich castle sat there, ready for adding some interest. Time for a drink of some Uxton water. It's very floaty at the minute. I want to work in the water a little bit now. I'm going to use the size 10 brush, and I'm going to use a very pale grey. There's the grey. Take some from there. It doesn't matter if it's got brown in it or what, really. Pale grey. Horizontal brush strokes. Working around. Keep the lines horizontal over here as well. Right over into the beach area, base of the castle, and till it kind of runs out of energy. And then down at the bottom, we're going to introduce some more of that lovely turquoise colour. I'm going to put some rolling waves on this for you as well before we finish. A few, not many. That's that lovely natural turquoise. Love that colour. Really kind of works well. There's a painting here of a seascape, a galleon. There's actually a video of how to do this on Watercolour TV. So if anybody's a member of this, you get that as part of your subscription. But look at the turquoise. It's even in the sky, you know. So it's all there for you to enjoy. So nice kind of rich horizontal brush strokes, weaving around, working around. Lovely. I will give more of a base to this in a second or two, but I've got a nice kind of base formula. We're going to put some darkness down here, some rocks here. It's a rocky beach as well. It's got all the nice heaviness to it. How are we doing, folks? Are we happy? That's me just having a drink there, folks. Okay. Bottom of the castle. Let's get close into that again. I'm going to pop some more interesting little areas of rock. And again, a bit of masking tape is going to come in wonders there. So colours. Again, colours. Strong grey. I've got some natural grey here, but if not, you could, like I say, you could use brown and blue, which we are selling in the kits. The kits of 11, so a rich kind of grey colour. Then we've also going to have a bit of a sort of browny tinge to this, so I'll just use natural brown here with a touch of blue. So those two colours are going to give me some rocky areas, which will be quite nice on this particular picture. Now at the base of the castle, I want to taper these out so they kind of disappear off to a point. Pop a few rocks going out to sea, and then make sure it's nice and crisp and dark down there. And then along this edge, make sure it's stuck. It's a little bit damp down there actually. I'll pop in some nice rocks, and it is, if anyone's been to Bamburgh Beach, you'll know it's got a lovely sand, but then it's also got plenty of rocks as well. It's got a bit of a mixture, a bit of a mixed grill going off, so there's all sorts happening there. Bring that down into this. Leave a bit of a gap there. Pop some rocks in between there as well. Little sort of horizontal lines really, you know. Working back. Some of the brown going in there. And also making sure that you've got a nice clean edge to the water as well. Lovely. Little horizontal lines. Now if I take that tape away, it should come off fairly smoothly. You can see it's given a crisp edge. Smashing. And I can make use of that tape again if I wanted to, so maybe I feel I could pop a few more little sort of rocks coming down here. Put the horizontal line in first, then you go in and you put some more rocks coming down. So again, using browns and greys for this. Keeps the line straight. If you want to put any highlights in the rocks, you could actually use that same plastic card and just use the corner of it to scrape off rocks like we did on the back. That gives a clean edge. It always does. Works nice. Now down here there's a big chunk of rock in this foreground area, so I want to have a look at that now. I want to work down here. Masking tape master. Super. Let's take a look back at the whole thing, folks. It really does make a difference when you start to bring in the detail. It pushes everything else back, don't it? Yeah, so using the tape is a great way of adding that nice kind of straight edge. And it's the straight line what you want, because that's what gives you that depth, you see, to your painting. Always going to work well. Okay, so let's have a little think about popping some big rocks and a bit of sandy stuff going off in the foreground. Let's take a look back at the whole scene now, pretty much. Okay. So let's have a little think about this kind of sandy beach. Now for this, I want to mix up some new colours. I want some natural orange, quite heavy. I'm going to mix some brown with it. I've got some greys here, so this kind of rich colour. I've got the sandstone colour, which is natural yellow, and that's going to work lovely for giving the beach the rich kind of strong beach effect. And that is where I would be using more of a dry brush down here. So wiping off the excess on the brush, this is the orange kind of colour. We're going to do some texture. This is why we use this wonderful textured paper, because it will give us a nice kind of base, a nice kind of textured base there. Little sort of horizontal sort of streaks of the brush. I've got the yellow if I want to put some yellow in, but if you pinch your brush a little bit spiky as you do this, it works really well. And then I've got a bit of darkness, a bit of the grey, just to put some extra dark in, especially in that corner. But you can see that gorgeous texture there, can't you? That can come right over towards the water's edge. rich, strong vibrancy in your colour. There we go. Lovely. So you get that nice bit of darkness. Now down here we're also going to pop in some larger chunks of rock. So working in this kind of corner. All of the brushes on the website are in stock. So branching detail brushes are in stock, blending blades, tree and texture brushes are in stock, lift out brushes, extra large lift out brushes, and also all the individual ones. So brushes, yeah, it's a good time to get them, folks, if you're interested. Okay, let's have a look at some large rocks down here. If you head over to Watercolour TV, and that's the same place you go to book this as well. I've literally down to the last few spots on this, so get yourself signed up, folks, please. You will enjoy it. Trust me, I'm an artist, remember? So quite rich colour with it being an evening picture. Blue and brown or natural grey. So I'm painting some sort of rocky areas here, alternating between the colour. Now these are going to go in quite strong, these colours here, so I'm not afraid to alternate between some of the orange, the yellows, and it doesn't really matter what goes in here, as long as these are quite large, a fairly large kind of rocky area going out to sea, mixing and matching. We can leave some little spaces for areas of sand and various things. Now over the top of this we're going to be putting in some highlights. So just working these colours in. But that starts to sort of create a huge sense of distance. So a nice bit of colour. Now if I want to scrape this colour off, I do need to be thinking about using a plastic card. But the problem with using plastic cards is it's quite easy to have the paint dry. Okay, so if I clean the brush, wipe it almost dry on some paper towel, or kitchen roll, just going to whiz over it. So it's all soft on the edges. Basically I'm sort of making the paint fresh again, if you know what I mean. And then I can use that plastic card again to scrape off some little rocky areas. Now some people get on with this, some people struggle with it, but it's worth a try, isn't it? You ever done it before? It's quite addictive. Let me know if you've managed to do this successfully, folks. Some people have big problems with it. But it's a nice technique to learn, and it's just a bit of a skill, that's all. So you can have no harm in trying it, is there? But it works quite well. It makes the rocks look like rocks. If anybody wants to get into watercolour painting, of course, the best possible way to do that is to get yourself of course, a membership to Watercolour TV. It's the original video on demand, brand new website coming very soon. Great time to get a membership, folks, because not only at the minute do you get 30-day free, there it is, 30-day free trial, but also if you're a member of Watercolour TV, you get access to hundreds and hundreds of video lessons. And when the new website goes live, there's exclusive live content, there's loads of stuff happening. So never been a better time to become a member of Watercolour.tv, the original and best video on demand art site. Yeah, get on there, folks. It's all me, so you can't go wrong. It's all nice, simple, plain English, nothing too technical on there. Popping in a few little horizontal lines of sort of reflections and things around here with a 6 brush. A little bit of rough stuff. Bit of texture, make sure things are sort of reflecting. And very soon we're going to put some white waves in this thing, that'll make a big difference. Little horizontal lines sweeping across. But hopefully you agree you've got that nice kind of rocky space. You've got that lovely distance from here to there. You can see, can't you? You can almost travel back into the picture. If you've got a membership to Watercolour TV, folks, let me know. Also, if you come into the workshop on Sunday, if you're attending the virtual workshop, whether you're doing it live or after, because remember the big thing about them is that you don't have to worry if you can't do it at the point of it being live. It starts at 10 AM UK time. People often ask me what time is that in my part of the world. Well, the best thing to do is do a quick internet search. What time is 10 AM in UK time where you live? So it's pretty easy to find the answer to that one, to be honest. Just going to pop in a few little dark horizontal lines around here as well. Got a size 6 brush here, folks. So really am. If you look super close into that, you can see that lovely texture that watercolour paper has. This paper is what we call a knot surface. Now what that means is it's a middle surface. It's not rough and it's not smooth if you're keeping it simple. Okay, basically. You can also see I'm popping a bit of dog muck on the beach as well. Little pebbles and things. Super. Excellent. I love that. That really just looks like a nice kind of, you know, that nice kind of pebbly beach, sort of rocky textured area. Just below these areas here, below the sort of, this little section in the water. Just want to add a few reflections to those. You don't really get reflections in the sea, but a little bit of dry brushwork, which is basically having less paint on your brush and scuffing the paper, can work quite nice. It just gives a bit of movement, it does, in the water. Let's get close into the castle now, and let's take a look at one of my favourite brushes, which is this monster. This is the extra large lift out brush. It's lovely for taking paint out as well as putting paint in. These are in stock, okay, so you can get them online. So let's take a look at the castle here. Again, the castle is straight when it's tilted forward, but because the easel slightly tilts back, it looks a bit drunk. Bit of tissue, a little bit of tissue there. Let's pop some highlights in on some of these corners. So basically just give it a firm tap, and can you see it puts a few little interesting highlights within the castle. The paint just kind of glides off, like it's catching a bit of moonlight or something, or whatever you decide. The white blob is in the sky. Now I could spend hours putting detail in this thing, but that's not what a demo is about. A watercolour demo, I spend my normal kind of working week, when there's no viruses in the air, is either doing videos for Watercolour TV, do a few TV shows. I'm actually on TV next week, so make sure you look out for that, and for the people that know where my normal shows are, you'll know where to find me. Or doing workshops, painting workshops, which is me actually physically going to a location and teaching a group. And I know lots of you in the chat have been to those, but of course all those have been postponed for the minute because of the situation, which is why we're doing these things. But these are proving so popular, we will keep them going after, so make sure you get involved. We do have a limit on spaces on them, okay? I'm looking, we've still got a few spots left on it, folks, okay? For the one, it's a windmill. It's a windmill across a wildflower meadow. What a difference those highlights are making. Let's bring it forward. Beautiful, yeah? Bamburgh Castle on the beach. One of our favourite places to go, and I do go at the end of the summer normally to teach a painting holiday. Whether it'll happen this year or not depends on how things go, of course. And that's true for all the painting holidays this year. As I'm studying now painting, I should have been in Buxton in Derbyshire, you know where the water came from, teaching a group in the Peak District on a painting holiday this weekend, next weekend, and the weekend after should have been in Norfolk. But of course that's all been cancelled, or postponed rather than cancelled. It's a bit Game of Thrones, that, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Super, love that. Really makes a huge bit difference. And if you wanted to put any light, of course, anywhere else in the picture, you can always go in and pop some nice highlights coming up here, and that always is going to make a difference to your picture, because watercolour just comes off so cleanly, you know, it really does. How's my castle looking? All right. Okay, now one of my favourite parts of doing these kind of sea scenes is bringing white into play. So I want to put some white paint into the picture. In the water. Let's take a look back at the whole scene there. We've got that nice kind of scene. Beautiful dark sky balanced by this dark corner here as well. So we're going to work in some white paint into the water, get some rolling waves. That'll make a big difference. Just before I do that though, I am going to actually bring in a craft knife as well. Got a nice sharp knife here. In the water. Scraping light into it. Actually cutting the paper here. Horizontally. What a difference that light makes to it. It puts, all of a sudden brings white into the picture, which is quite effective. At the bottom of the castle, at the bottom of these rocks, even down here, look, in the foreground, along the edge of the beach, where the sand's a bit wet maybe, just physically actually cutting your paper. Don't be afraid to do that, will you? It does make a difference. You can scrape off as much of this as you like. You could maybe even do a little bit in the castle, you know, and put some little sort of highlights on. A few little windows that have got lights on, maybe, because it is a lived-in castle. It's more of a stately owned Bamburgh Castle. So you can scrape off some light there as well if you wish. You don't have to just, you know, stick to that area. There we go. Super job. Okay, white paint then, folks. We're talking natural white here. And of course, white paint is always good for over painting, as we call it, working over the top. So here I've got natural white, which is my own personal brand. Yes, we do have stock of this. It's an opaque white watercolour, which you don't tend to find much. Most white watercolour transparent. Okay, so this one is actually opaque, so you can see it, which of course makes a big difference. and using white paint on a plastic card. So this is the picture, I reckon. It's got to be kind of this time of year, because it stays, you know, it stays dark. Sorry, it stays light a long time, don't it? You know. So it's a lovely way of adding that nice kind of sort of evening feel, you know. And I think the thing is about the picture, we can decide if it's an early evening, late evening in the summer, sun's gone down, moon's creeping in, bit of darkness. You can decide. You decide what time of day it is. You can paint it without the moon if you like. It's your picture. It's your call. Bit of white with water. Nice and thick, of course. And what we do here is use a plastic card and we paint white on the edge of it. Strong white. Nice and thick. And then if we come back to the actual painting and get nice and close in to this area, you can see the water's quite dark there, with it being an evening. And as long as your white paint is very thick and very strong, it's a really nice way of adding that little bit of white wave, catching the light from either the sun or the moon or whatever we decide it is. You can chat amongst yourselves about that, which I'm sure you are doing anyway. I'll lay this thing flat. I'm going to roll it over. Bring it lower in places. Tap it away at the end. Nice and rich with the colour. Don't be afraid. Bring them lower down if you want to. Tap it away. It just gives that nice bit of breaking wave, which you would expect to see. If I do some taps on the edge, you get a slightly thinner line. Just painting the paint on the edge of the card, basically. There we go. So it's starting to just bring a little bit of white in towards the foreground there. Like I say, this is natural white, folks. It's quite a strong consistency as well. There we go. I did a demonstration a few months ago on an art group. Can't think where it was. I'll not mention where it was actually. And we're painting a nighttime seascape there, and somebody said, "You don't get waves at night." I'm thinking, really? Just because you can't see them. It's like the people that say you don't get birds flying in the dark because you just can't see them. There's always a few around, I'm sure. Don't get waves at night. That's a new one on me. What a difference this makes. It really brings this forward, brightens the picture up, and it's like it's catching the white from the moon or the sun. You can debate that all day if you like, after I've gone. Over here, some white over there as well. Getting right into those rocky areas. It's important to put this light in. It's as though it's reflecting. the moon as well. Catching a bit of light directly below where I put the light source in the sky. So you can see I'm just putting a bit more of a concentration of light around here to obviously replicate the little reflection from the moon there. Obviously it's in line, you can't see the moon but it's there. A few little bits around here, just little taps with the corner of a card, it just works well. I mean, if you want to use a brush, someone said to me, well, why don't you just use a paintbrush? I'll say, well, you use a paintbrush, you know, you can do what you want, it's your picture, so it's your call. Yeah, this is just the way I like to paint, which is what I'm doing, folks. I'm not sort of trying to say this is how you have to do it, this is what I like to do. Art's very personal, it is. Comes with criticism, same as everything does, but the main thing is that you need to enjoy it. You need to enjoy what you do. Otherwise there's no point in doing it. Little bits of white around here as well. It just gives a bit of light coming through the painting, which is making a huge difference. I'm just going to pop a little bit here, right on the edge of the beach. Just a few little sort of taps with that card around here. Little bits where it's just got a little bit of light, just bringing it in next to the sand there. The white's getting a bit dry, I'll just keep adding a bit of water to it. If you take a look at the palette, you can see it's getting a bit dry. So it starts to get a little bit white. I think we lost connection then, didn't we, for a sec? But I'll just keep adding a bit of water with it, basically. That's all. Super. And you forget that there's 500 people watching you paint when you do this. And of course, if you want to use a paintbrush to pop any extra little tweaks in, of course you can do. You can just pop little bits of extra white around. Make sure it's in line, of course. There we go, so we've got that nice bit of light coming through, and then I'm just going to nip up to the sky and put some light in the clouds. Get some highlights casting from that big round thing in the sky. I'm going to use some white here. I'm going to brighten it up on one side. And I'm also going to pop little bits of light on the edge here. Number 6 brush. So basically I'm sort of using a nice thick white, surprisingly, and I will blend this in shortly. It's quite addictive doing these little bits of light on these edges of these dark areas. Now I shall blend those in a sec. Bear with me, folks. We never judge a picture till it's finished. That's always important. And you can judge it as much as you like. Bit of water, just going to make sure that all blends in. Fades away. So I'm just using a damp brush, not a saturated brush by any means. This has just got a tiniest bit of water on here. Keep working on this. So I'm almost working like I would do in acrylics. So if anyone's like a traditionalist and you don't want to sort of mix the medias, then maybe this is not for you, but it's nice to use an opaque watercolour, and natural white is an opaque watercolour. So you can do these wonderful overpainting effects, and you can really make that nice effect. And that's exactly how I got the lightning on this kind of stormy sky here with the yacht on. Again, there's a full video on how to do this on Watercolour TV. So for the members of the website, get yourself onto it because we've got all the stuff happening. It's interesting on the live workshops because there's a few people that'll sort of quit after the first half an hour. You've always got to finish them, and then when people finish them, like, yeah, you're right, just kind of. And I've been teaching watercolour since the late 90s. 97, 98 it was August 97 I did my first classes in my little village in Derbyshire in the UK. So that's, you know, it's a long time ago. I was still in nappies, long story. Just going to bring that over. Well, that's lovely, that. It just puts that little bit of crispness on the edge, like it's giving layers to the clouds. Keep blending it, keep smoothing it out as much as you want to. Let it just become part of the picture. And of course that is lovely reflected in the water as well. I could keep going with that, but for me it's just giving a bit of drama to it. And that warm grey that we use with the brown and the blue mix is really nice. It really adds a bit of atmosphere to it. I love that. It makes a focal point in the sky as well as in the picture down here. So really nice. And if we take a look at the palette here, I've got the whites on the card still. I'm just going to pop some of the sandy yellow with that. So can you see I'm popping a bit of sandy yellow into the white, so it goes like a bit of a creamy kind of colour. I'm literally down to the last little bits. It looks more of a sort of like a grey on the screen. It's actually quite a bright colour, that, actually. You might actually see it better on the top camera. A little bit more colourful. It's got that there. It still looks a little bit, the colours are a bit more muted on the screen actually from what they actually are here in the studio. That's, you know, it's pretty standard stuff really. And I want to come down to Bamburgh Castle here. There it is again. Tilt it forward. You can see that's how it's meant to be, not falling away. Before anybody tells me, I'm just going to pop in a few little bits of this light on the castle. The castle does light up on an evening, so we're talking a summer's evening here. Obviously, it's an English summer's evening because it's cloudy. And I'm going to bring that down here. Yes, it's coming up to the summer solstice, is it not? When it stays light pretty much all evening. Is that the 21st of June? I think it is. Sure it is. Bit of water here. Just going to lightly feather those back. And that's just going to pop a little bit of light on. Brighten the castle up a little bit. And it's just like it's catching light from somewhere. But it does light up at night, the castle, anyway, so we can say it's, if anyone thinks it's too bright, then we could always say it's the lights, because it is lit up from a distance. Question from Rosemary: what's the advantage of being a member of Watercolour TV? So members basically get exclusive access to hundreds and hundreds of video lessons. I mean, there's a load, an absolute stack. There's well over 150 videos on Watercolour TV. So members get access. You get live demos every so often just for members. On the new site, there's going to be exclusive workshops and demos, which should be going live in June. And you get discounts on products. You also get printable worksheets, but the big advantage for most people, of course, is the fact that you get the hundreds of video lessons, okay, all designed just for members, not on YouTube, just for members of Watercolour TV. I'm just potting little bits of white around here, look. Well, it's the white with the yellow actually, as though it's catching some moon light. And of course it's always tempting if we come down here, if we just come back a little bit there, smashing, just to say, you know, maybe potentially popping little bits on this foreground rock here. It's not essential, but it's there if you want it, and white's quite an enjoyable medium to work with. Don't think white's not part of watercolour painting. Watercolour painting is whatever you want it to be, and for someone that's been painting since he was about 9 years old, I've been through the stages of saying, you know, I shouldn't be using white paint when, you know, there's no reason not to. So it just adds a little bit of light to it. Painting is what you want it to be. It's your medium to enjoy, and white paint can add a lovely bit of, one of my favourite little sayings, a lovely bit of spit and polish. Just had another 4 people booked for the workshop on Sunday, folks. So again, if you want to get yourself involved in that, that is the 17th of May 2020, a windmill with a wildflower meadow in the foreground. Beautiful English windmill. Get yourself in on that, folks. If you're watching this back at a later stage, apologies for talking about something that's happened. It's filmed, today is the 14th, there you go, you can see the time. It's the 14th of May at 10 past 4. There you go. Just going to have a quick look back at the picture. Just want to come back to the sky. Love the white, beautiful. Just going to make sure it's now it's dried. Sometimes you have to go back into white paint and give it an extra blend. So I'm just making sure it's all smooth, like a good cheap bottle of whiskey. Make sure it's a smooth blend. Bring it in, like so. Can't go wrong. Soften, blend, feather, all that business. Makes such a difference. Really does make a big difference. Last thing to think about in the water here is just popping a bit of a shadow underneath some of those waves. So if I was to use natural turquoise, which I've got here, see how the water's gone very white, by the way. We don't want to drink that, are we? We're going to use turquoise and grey, basically, and I'm not going to put too much focus in this, but a bit of a dark colour here, because on the picture what I want to do is just want to pop in a little bit of, on some of the larger waves that we've just painted in, just a bit of shadow underneath them, because it lifts them up a little bit, just a touch, on probably just these sort of 2 or 3 down here, to be honest. And then if I clean the brush on the tissue there, I can just basically water that down with a damp brush. Again, during the virtual workshop, folks, I'll take you through all of this, so you don't have to worry. Someone's asked me, is it this picture? No, it's not. It's a windmill that we're doing. It's a painting of a windmill and a wildflower meadow. So we're talking gorgeous kind of yellows and violet flowers. Really, really nice scene for you to enjoy, folks, on a Sunday workshop. Little bit of a look over here towards the castle, liking that. Just going to make sure that I just want to pop in a few little bits of extra darkness here and there. So I'm just back to grey again, pottering in some of these little corners and little gaps. And like I say, folks, at the minute Watercolour TV is on a reduced price. It's $49.99 for a year's membership at the minute, 2020. And when the new site goes live, the price will increase. But it remembers you. It remembers how much you pay. So it's never been a better time to get yourself a membership to Watercolour TV, because I'm sure there's some people in the chat that'll say how much they enjoy it. New stuff added weekly. There's a painting of the Golden Gate Bridge being added very soon. In fact, if you look here, and it's a bit of a lean to one side, apologies for the dodgy camera work, but this picture here is going to go on very soon as a step-by-step video tutorial. I think there's 149 videos, so you're certainly going to get a lot of that's a lovely atmospheric scene, folks. Thoroughly enjoyed that. What I want to do now, just to finish up, take the masking tape off, because it always looks better with the tape being removed. So I've painted Bamburgh Castle a few times, not literally but pictures of it, and that's the first time I've done a bit of a sort of what I would say to be a moonlit night, but if you don't think it's dark enough for the moon, then that's your decision. But I think that's made a beautiful picture, folks. Look at the gorgeous atmosphere. Let's take a close-up look at it, and let's have a little look round. It's always nice to do this at the end. Let's start off with that gorgeous sky, and we've made a focal point in the sky. That's something that you wouldn't normally think about doing, but it really has given a lovely atmosphere. Of course, down here you got the gorgeous castle, beautiful, beautiful Bamburgh Castle. Look at the light in the water. Gorgeous rocks, and hopefully if we get close into the castle you can see all the nice little bits of detail there. A stormy evening in Northumberland. Hopefully you enjoyed that, folks. Let me tilt it forward a bit so you can see it. So it's straight now. The castle is straight, okay? Yeah, so nice one. Enjoyed that. Thanks for sticking around, folks, through that demo. Make sure you keep yourself keep safe and well. Please have a little think about getting yourself booked in for this virtual workshop. The 17th of May is the next one. It's the windmill. I'll pop the link in the chat for those people that are interested. I know some of you have been asking for the link. I've had a couple of emails I can see here asking for it. So if you're on YouTube, make sure you hit subscribe as well. Yes, I can show you that nice and close again. There you go, there's a lovely castle. Now it's straight, of course. Look at that beautiful light in the water. What an atmospheric scene, and what a pleasure it was to paint that with you. Can't go wrong, can you? Hey? There is the link for the workshop. There it is in all its glory. Well done, folks. Thanks for sticking around, and keep well, keep safe. Let's have a little chat camera. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed that. Watch it back, have a go yourself. Pop onto Facebook, Matthew Palmer Artist. Get yourself booked in for the workshop. The link has gone from here, but it's in the chat. And if you're watching this back at a later stage, obviously don't book in for the 17th. Book in for another workshop, which will be coming up. Everything is over here on the website, which is just kind of stood sort of near me here, watercolour.tv. That's me finished, folks. Watercolour painting from the UK. Thoroughly enjoyed it. See you soon. Take care.